Hey, what's up, you guys? Today I'm here with the Orient Altair. Now, this is a watch they just released under their 3-star line. Think of Orient's 3-star line. It's kind of similar to Seiko 5. It's kind of their entry-level mechanical line. It was around for a long time. I think they stopped making them, but if you go on their website, they have a section called 3-star, and they have, I think, 2 or 3 watches in there. I'll actually take you over to the website and kind of show you. The Orient USA website is really difficult to navigate, and they don't do a very good job of like kind of showing what's new and stuff like that. So I'll show you the watches they have available there. But basically, what you have here is a like entry level mechanical watch from Orient. And think of it, it's kind of like right below the Bambino line. So the MSRP on these guys is 130, where I think the Bambino 2, like second generation, I think the MSRP is like 150 on the Orient site. So a little bit less expensive, but you get kind of a different presentation. This guy's a little bit smaller. It doesn't have that domed crystal, so and it's kind of a callback to their 3-star line. They released another watch, I think it's called the Vega, which is supposed to represent an older model they used to make. So they're kind of getting on the whole reissue vintage train here, and they came out with this guy. I saw it, what immediately appealed to me was a 39.5 millimeter size, so more on that later, but I'll give you the overall specifications of the watch and then what I liked and didn't like about it. So starting with the specifications, it's 39.5 millimeter case. You have a 44.5, almost 45 millimeter lug to lug distance. It's only 11.5 millimeters thick. And then you do have a 20 millimeter lug width. And thank goodness for that. Orient is kind of famous for doing, for example, on that Bambino 2, the lug width is 21 millimeters, which makes it really difficult to find strap options. Thankfully, on this watch, they stuck with a traditional size. Usually if it's 18, you can get stuff. 20 is the kind of 20 and 22 millimeter is kind of the magic number for lug width, where you're going to have a ton of aftermarket options. So 20 millimeter here, and you actually, this is a aftermarket strap. I'll show you the strap it came with. But I'm glad that they did that here. You have mineral glass, mineral crystal here, unsigned crown. And this has the movement, the Orient in-house movement F6B22. It's actually, if you notice the layout, and we'll get more into that later, this is the same movement that's in the Defender 2. So you see there's that 24-hour subregister, and you have this date wheel. You do get hacking and hand winding on this one, which is something I like. Something that's not in all of the 3-star models, but this one does have a hacking and hand winding movement. Let me put this down and I'll show you the bracelet it came on. So like I said before, 20 millimeters, it has hollow end links. I took them off here. It does taper down to 18 millimeters, back up to 19 millimeters at the clasp. It's just this pressed metal. There's a lot of micro positions, but this is one of these, they're these folded metal links, and to size them, you have to push out this piece of metal. I'm just not really a fan of these types of bracelets. I'm really bad at sizing them. It's unfortunate because I actually like the finish on this bracelet. You have a 5-link, and it's 3 links are brushed and 2 are polished. I think it'll actually look pretty good on the watch. I'll eventually get the size, but I have a hell of a time sizing these, and then I just wanted to wear it right away, so I threw it on this other strap. So moving back onto the watch, polish all around. You do have some transitioning, like a chamfered edge here, but it's high polish on all parts of the case. You have an unsigned high polished crown, and you do have a screw-in case back. That is actually brushed, but as far as the watch on your wrist, it's all high polish. It's one of the downsides of the watch, more on that later, but I would like to see them mix some of the surfaces there. The dial is really cool. You have, it's almost impossible to catch in this light, but it's a pearlescent dial. So in the sunlight, it does kind of have a gleam, kind of that looks like a pearl almost. And then you have, I guess I'll move the hands, but you have these really cool alpha style hands. And here you can see it does hack. You have these alpha style hands that I really like. They're very thin, very elegant, and they did a great job. One of my big pet peeves is how long the minute and hour hands are. The hour hand is perfectly long. You can see which indices it's between. The minute hand is so long that it does go out to the hash mark, so you can see where you are in with the minutes. I do really like that. you have now these indices. You have the numerals, at the cardinal directions. So the 12, 3, 6, and 9, they use these numerals. And this is just kind of an applied paint. And you can see where the light goes on. It does have some dimensionality. And when the light catches it, it is also blue. So I do like that. It's, you really can't go wrong with that combination of either like a parchment or an off-white dial, or even a white dial, and then blue indices and hands. Now, obviously, these aren't heat treated or anything like that. But just the overall blue is really nice. It doesn't match perfectly, but like in this bright light, you can see the hands are slightly more blue than the indices paint. But in normal lighting conditions, they all look like the same color, and it looks really nice. And then you do have the Orient logo that's applied, and then the 3 stars are also applied, and they catch light kind of nicely. The dial's a bit busy. I think some people are going to think this is way too busy of a dial. And the offset Orient is kind of strange. Doesn't bother me. My only complaint about this dial is that I noticed the 6 o'clock position, the 5 on that Roman numeral, is kind of longer than the 1 on the 6. I don't know why they did that. It kind of drives me crazy. But some other cool details about the dial of the watch is if I move in on the subdials, you can see there's a lot of small concentric circles to try to, just a different kind of surface and decoration there to differentiate from the dial proper. And then you do have a framed date window at the 3 o'clock position. They did cut into the Roman numeral 3 there. Doesn't really bother me, but yeah, keep that in mind. You do have a movement was made in Japan at that 6 o'clock position, and some other details about the movement. Some other like maybe serial reference numbers. So overall, a really nice dial. I think this is one of the best features of the watch. I did put it onto this blue strap here to try to make the blue of the indices and the hands pop a bit more. Just not really a fan of that bracelet that it came on. So what do I think about this watch? What it has going for is the price is really good. I got it like on a 15% off sale on Orient USA. So it was like just shy of a little bit north of $100 for a hacking hand winding watch. That's pretty good. You're losing out. Keep in mind the bracelet's not the best. You don't have a sapphire crystal, but for like an entry level movement watch, that's cool. I love the size, 39.5 millimeter. It's like my magic size. I think 39 to 40 is really good for my 6 3/4 wrist. I do have the Msrp here, which is a 38 millimeter, but you can see they're very close. The 39 looks a bit bigger because of the white dial. The other thing to keep in mind about this watch is the lugs are very straight. You can see the curved lugs here on the Msrp. Kind of helps it wear a little bit better on the wrist. These straight lugs are always going to kind of make the watch look bigger. Because it doesn't really, it kind of like sits on top of your wrist instead of like conforming to your wrist. And I'll give you a wrist shot later. But because the lug to lug distance is only about 45 millimeters, it's very forgiving in that regard. So I really like the size, 39.5 millimeters. I think the Bambino 2 is 40.5 millimeters. So if you're looking for something a little bit smaller, this is a great option to go with. Some of the downsides, the all polished surface on the case here, it just makes it very flashy. It's a dress watch. It's a dress watch style kind of, so it's probably okay. But I like to see mixed surfaces. Obviously here, that's just a cost saving measure. The bracelet is I'm not a huge fan of. This is kind of true of the Seiko 5 bracelets as well. It's just, they save money on the bracelet here, and that's something that is going to be apparent when you get the watch. So I was fine. I just threw it out onto a leather because you have the 20 millimeter lug width here. You're going to have a lot of options for aftermarket. And then the only other thing that bothers me is that 5 is longer than the 1 on the 6, and then the slightly mismatched blues of the hands and the indices. But that's something that's getting like blues to match is very difficult. And this is, an entry level watch. You wouldn't expect them to have that all dialed in. So it's for what you're getting. I think this is a pretty good value. If you don't really like the style, even though there's a million of them, of the Bambinos, this is another option. And this does come, I'll show you on the website, but this comes in a lot of different dial combinations. Also, it comes in gold plated color, obviously not really gold, but gold-plated versions with a gold bracelet, which is kind of a cool option. They have like green and blue that go with that. So overall, let me put this on the wrist so you can give a wrist shot, and I'll give you my overall impression. So here it is on my 6 3/4" wrist. Remember, 39.5mm case width, and then 45mm lug to lug. So you can see it is quite straight. So it does, the lug to lug appears longer, I think, than it looks more like almost like a 47, 48 because it's so straight and flat. But still, it's because it's pretty short. It's pretty forgiving. So it will look good. I think if you have a smaller wrist, this is a good option for you, that 39.5mm. And you still can't really get it in the light, but maybe a little bit there. It does have that pearlescent dial is really cool. It's just very hard to capture. But if you're looking at this watch in real life, like you'd notice it right away. It's very cool. So let me pop this back. So overall, a really cool new entry from Orient. I like to see, I'm going to keep an eye on their Tristar Collection to kind of see what they introduce in that lineup. But let's run over to the website and I'll show you where to find these guys and kind of what are the other options available, because that Orient USA site is difficult to navigate.
All right, so here we are at the Orient USA home site, and I just want to show you an easier way to navigate this site. If you go to Collections, you're presented with these 4 options. Now you can browse through these, but there's a lot of watches in each one, and it's kind of hard to decide like what you're looking for, like figure out where it's going to be. If you hit Shop All, you can see every watch that's available, but that's also a bit overwhelming. If you actually click on this collection button, not the top one, but the one that's in the All Products page, it'll present to you each of the watches that Orient has by watch, which is really nice. You can see the Altair is here. We're going to look at that more later. But for example, you have the Bambino Open Heart, Small Seconds, all versions 1 through 5, and they're each kind of separated into their own category. And then if you click, for example, into the version 5 Bambino, you can see the different dial options and strap options that are available just for the Bambino 5. So this is a pretty convenient way to see everything they have. And then if you go all the way down to the bottom, there's quite a number of watches available on Orient USA, but you will get to this Tristar Collection. And these are all the Tristar watches. And you can see this is a new line they kind of brought back. It says it's a 70s classic. For almost 50 years, each star in the logo has represented an ideal: quality, design, and price. So this is very similar to Seiko 5's design kind of philosophy of it needed the 5 features of day-date complication, automatic movement, etc. This is the same thing, but with the 3 stars representing their design ideals. And you can see here's the Altair, and this is the one I went for, the white with the blue. But you can see it's available in different gold tones, stainless steel tones, and then also stainless steel on leather bracelets. But there's 2 other watches in this 3-star collection. There's the Deneb, which is available in both gold tone, stainless steel, and then you also have the choice between the stick markers and these stick markers that actually have the Romans for the 12, 6, and 9. And you can see there's a variety of different dial options here. I really like this green. I think, from what I understand, these are sunburst dials, but I haven't seen anything outside of these stock photos, so it's hard to tell. And all these are going to be small wrist friendly. This one is only 39mm, so on the smaller side. So that was the Deneb, and there's also the Vega, which is available again in gold tone and stainless steel on bracelets, and also, no straps on this guy, but you do have the option between these kind of painted on markers and the Arabic numerals you have down here, and these 3 right here. But this one also looks pretty cool. I think this one's 40mm, yeah, 40mm, so again a smaller model here. It looks like they took the Kamasu hands and second hand. You have this kind of painted dial, looks like they have lume on there, and then this is another really cool green. So yeah, this is just an easier way that I like to shop. The website, I go to Shop All, and then I go to Collections, and you can kind of see just every watch one at a time, all the options you have for each of those watches. So hopefully that's a helpful way to navigate Orient Watch USA, and I'll see you guys next time.